Hey, family. Let me ask you something. Why is it that the strong ones in every room oftentimes are the most loneliest people in their relationships? You know, they are the ones who hold it all together. They pray for everybody, they carry the vision, but secretly they wonder, who's holding me? Well, welcome to Unmute Your Mic podcast. This is the space where the strong ones finally get to feel safe. And I am your coach and your host, Coach Lauren J. And I am so excited to have you here with me because I know if you are listening and if you're here with me, then that tells me you are serious about healing and having healthy relationships, not just impressive ones. So, listen, I'm going to tell you now. Here, we do not avoid the hard conversations, honey. Mm-mm. We unmute them. So let's get into today's episode and unmute our mics. So today, we are talking about part two of our episode. How how did you break trust without cheating? Mm. So last week, if you did not watch part one, I'm gonna give you a quick little snippet that you need to go back and rewatch it because it was really, really good and it builds upon what we're talking about today. So last week we talked about how trust um, doesn't get rebuilt just because you said you're sorry or just because you changed your behaviors but not your patterns. We also talked about last week how trust breaks because I think a lot of times we don't even know like how did we get here? And we broke down the three ways that trust is broken in a relationship that doesn't even involve cheating because oftentimes people think that's the thing. We talked about inconsistency, unreliability, and emotional avoidance. How these three culprits can kill your relationship faster than cheating ever could. So, today in this episode, we're going to be talking and unpacking the 4 steps to repairing trust. So, I hope you're ready to get into it because I'm ready to get into it. So, the first step into repairing trust is full ownership. Now, child, listen, some of us struggle with the full ownership. And oftentimes it's because we're still being very defensive. And anytime you operate in defensiveness, it makes the other person shut down, especially when you know you're wrong. Like you ever met somebody, you were having a conversation with them, whether it was romantic, business, what have you, friendship, and you knew they was lying. And they were gonna hold on to that lie. They was gonna defend that lie. I mean, baby, they was gonna defend that lie to Jesus, okay? And you're like, but I know, like, why are you being so defensive? Or the person who takes the blame, but they make you carry the guilt. Mm, you know those people. They take the blame, but then they want you to carry the guilt of it. Like it's a 50-50. This ain't 50-50, sir, ma'am, sir or ma'am. This ain't 50-50. And so when we talk about repairing uh, a relationship, and not just relationship, but repairing trust, right? We've got to be able to own it. One of the things that I often tell my clients is that anytime we use the word you is a judgment word. You is a guilt word. You is a shame word. I is a ownership. I has it's a letter and it is a word all at the same time, right? So when we think about owning something, we want to say things like, I know I hurt you. See, that's when you so some of y'all like, well, how you say not say you? You lead with I. It's okay if you add you in it, right? But you doesn't need to be how you start the conversation because how you start it is how people interpret it. And that's how they're processing it through their own lens. So when you start out by saying, I know that I hurt you. I'm sorry that I hurt you. Not you ain't that hurt. See, that don't work. That don't work. Mm-mm. Or we say, I know I hurt you, but see that but negates everything you said before it. So when you're like, well, I said this and it ain't get me anywhere. Did you use the word but? Because see, this is the thing about people. We've heard this phrase, communication is key, right? But why is it that many of us are still locked up? Do you not have the key? If communication is key, why are you still locked up? Now that's a whole conversation for a different day, baby. But I'm just want to bring that to the table because when we think about trust, we think that it's something that should be built overnight, but it's really built over time. And so you want to share things like, I see how my behavior made you feel unsafe. Again, I is an ownership, right? We're not delegating our bad behavior onto the other person. And then that when we start taking ownership of it, now ownership restores dignity. That's what it does. And so oftentimes when I'm talking, especially to couples, and we're talking about what does it look like to restore trust, and a man's love language is love and respect. So when we talk about restoring trust, especially from the men who are trying to restore it, respect is something that they need, right? Respect symbolizes love for them. But when you do something that is disrespectful, regaining that doesn't happen overnight. So sometimes you got to decide. You got to decide, is it worth it? Some of the decisions we're making, the patterns that we refuse to break, are they worth, is it worth you being married to your pattern to the point where you may be divorced from your partner? I'm going to let you sit with that. Because a lot of times that is why we cannot begin to restore trust, is because we are so married to the pattern and our position with it that we're willing to lose our partner behind it. Because once you lose their trust, you've lost them. And so that begins the when we talk about the road to redeeming and restoring trust, full ownership has to be the first thing that you do. Because if you never take ownership, then we never move anywhere. Step 2, consistency over intensity. Now listen. Some of us like grand gestures. We buying red bottoms, we buying a new house, we buying a new wig. We want to buy our way out of consistency. You can't. And so no matter how grand the gesture is, it does not rebuild trust. It's predictable behavior that builds trust. And when you start having predictable behavior, like following through, following up, showing up emotionally, not avoiding. This is how we can start to repair trust a whole lot quickly because consistency is romantic to your partner. We talk about the nervous system, and you hear people talk about my nervous system is overwhelmed. And let's not minimize that though, because my nervous system is a part of my body. And the way that I respond to you is a part of letting you know what I'm experiencing, whether it's male or female, right? So we don't want to negate that because that does matter. And so when a person feels like they're in fight or flight or freeze, then their response is going to be that way. And again, which one is more important to you? Being married to that pattern or in right standing with your partner? And one of the things that I find people struggle with a lot is the consistency because it takes 21 days to change a habit. And that means you have to really be working at it. And I don't mean like stressfully working at it. I mean making it easy to do so that way you adopt this as something that you need. One of the things that Atomic Habits talks about, and I love that book, Atomic Habits, is how you are supposed to make the change easier. So the first step in making in implementing a new habit is is your ability to make it easy. If you make it too hard, if you got 5 steps and 6 more coming, you're not going to want to do it, because some days you're going to be like, I ain't got time for all that. Right. And then you're going to get off track one day, and then the next day, and then the next day. And then you look up again and you ain't did it in 3 years. Right. So when we talk about changing habits, it has to be something that is with ease, and also something that you have believed in your mind, like you have made yourself believe. You walked into the persuasion that this is going to help me do X. So one of the things that it talks about in Atomic Habits is changing our mindset around the things that bring us comfort. So, prime example, if every time you have a stressful day, you're like, oh, I need a glass of wine, then what's going to happen is every time you have a stressful day and you're trying to change that behavior, your mind and your body gonna be like, oh, I need a glass of wine. So you're gonna need to tell yourself that glass of wine is going to give me kidney disease. Smoking that cigarette is going to give me lung cancer. So when you look at the cigarette, it needs to look like lung cancer. When you look at that bottle, it needs to look like kidney disease. When you look at that candy, you need to look at diabetes. So you have to start, because we tell ourselves the good things that happen when we interact in this habit, but they're just as they are good things. What feels good to you doesn't always mean that it's good for you. And so, in order to start changing that habit, is we have to start believing and not lying to yourself, right? Truly, like, do the research. What does the research say? What does your doctor say? Right? So, like, don't lie to yourself, because that's not going to help. That's kind of how we here in the first place right now, trying to rebuild trust. So don't lie to you, because if you lie to you, you're gonna lie to them. So let's look at the research. What does it say? If you're doing these things, is it not going to affect your body? If you're not doing these things, is it not going to have an effect on your body? So you have to be able to own that. And that's why this ownership, that's why step one ownership is so important. Because if you won't own it, you won't address it. If you don't address it, you won't change it, right? So this is the process that we're walking through. And so when we talk about rebuilding trust and consistency, it's small gestures. Because what's more important to you? Being right about them or with them? That matters. So let's go into step three. Oh, reassurance with I was struggle with reassurance, honey. Ooh, reassurance is a thing, because people be getting upset. Okay. Y'all, you cannot be irritated with the reassurance. Okay. If your partner is needing reassurance, now, if you listening or watching me with your partner, just look straight ahead, baby. Don't even look, don't look left or right. Just look right at the camera. Don't roll your eyes. I l My ladies, y'all know we roll our eyes a lot. I think we start rolling eyes at about 7 years old or something. I don't know, but we love to roll them eyes. So if your partner is needing reassurance, do not roll your eyes, because your nonverbal cues are just as impactful, hurtful, and important as what comes out your mouth. So when you think about this, us restoring trust, when trust is broken, it takes time to heal that kind of trauma. And a lot of times we don't want to hear the word trauma, but it's true. It takes time to rebuild those. So you can't punish the other person for being hurt. And a lot of times we do that. When you gonna get over it? Why you ain't over it yet? I mean, you ain't over that yet. Like, you don't get to dictate how long it takes for them to heal, because it took you how long to come clean. I know that they just hurt your feelings real quick, but you can't do that. How are you upset with them about how long it takes them to get over a pain you've been hiding for months, for years, for decades? And you want them to get over it overnight? Did you make that decision overnight? Or did you make that decision over time? See, that's the difference. And so when we talk about, you know, reassurance, the body needs that, because right now they just got sideswiped. Like they just got slapped and they wasn't even ready for the slap. They were in a boxing match. They didn't even know they was in. If we gonna really keep it a stack. So they're trying to first get their bearings because their body now is like, oh, okay, I can't trust that. Mm. And don't trigger no, please don't trigger some childhood trauma, some stuff that reminds them of their childhood and back in the day and who did. Child, a time shall be had. Now, am I telling you that people cannot get over it? No, people can, but it takes time. So that patience, you're gonna need to get to working on it because you're gonna need to have it. And if you don't want to have to deal with that, then I recommend you don't do what you're doing. That's the only way to avoid it. So, in the moments when your partner needs reassurance, comfort them. Don't um don't create more conflict. Don't criticize them. Comfort them. That's maturity. When you can say to them like, I know that I hurt you. Um I know that this is something that we're still healing through. I know that I've been, working at this, trying to make sure that I send you a message at a certain time or that I'm texting you throughout the day. And I'm not doing this because I feel like I'm demanded to, because love on demand ain't nothing but direct TV, honey. Listen, ain't nobody, nobody's a remote control, but I'm doing this because I care. I realize what I did to put us in this position and to put this separation and this disconnection between us. So however long it takes, whatever that looks like, I am willing to sit here with you in it because I don't get to dictate how you heal from it and how you respond to it. And then just hug them. One of the things that I love to make my couples do is we do this hug called the melting hug. And the melting hug is, and I don't just do it with couples, it's universal. I do it even with my children, because it resets the nervous system. And so the goal is to be able to hug your partner or hug your child or whomever and that you're reconnecting with, but hug them for a longer period of time outside of like 3 second hug. Like, all right, y'all get them church hugs. No, an embrace. And I would recommend, 20-second hold if you can. But the beautiful thing about the melting hug is that it allows you to be stationed with your partner, but it also allows you to get on the same the breath work with them. And so as you're hugging them, you'll notice your heart rate begin to kind of slow down. Your breath will get on the same page. And so you guys will be breathing in rhythm, and doing that helps to release some of that cortisol that is stored in the body, in in your hormones, and that's got you, all upset. And it creates connection. It also creates intimacy, and it also invites vulnerability because both of you now are in a very soft and gentle space, and you want to do um, slow hand movements up and down the shaft of the back. It's just very relaxing, and it just allows that person to just release. Because a lot of times, what you're getting back from your partner, or that you're getting back even from your children, there's times when I have to just hug my boys and I hug them for an extended amount of time, and I will allow them to put their head on my shoulder, and I just rub their back very gently. Um, is it allows them to know that they're safe. It makes them feel very connected. It makes the other person feel like they're wanted, they're significant, they're safe, they're seen here, and it allows, again, their cortisol levels to decrease, and then they find themselves in a more grounded space, so they're not just reacting. And from there, that also allows reassurance to rest in them. So try it. Y'all let me know how it works, because trust me, my clients be out here winning on it. Okay. That melting hug is tried and true, darling. It is tried and true. So definitely, I would definitely incorporate that into your reassurance, right? Um, into consistency, into ownership. And then step four, invite accountability. Trust grows when transparency increases. I'm going to say that one more time. Trust grows when transparency increases. And so allow that person to you hold each other accountable. You're on a team, right? This is not offense defense. Either you both are on offense or you're both on defense. And the only person that you guys are defending against is the enemy, not the inner me, the enemy. That is the person. You are going up against the problem, not the person. So that takes that rewiring, right? And so what does accountability look like? Sharing passwords. I already know, child. Some of y'all be like, let me click her off, child. And I know she, I don't know if I can share the password. Sharing passwords, sharing thoughts, sharing struggles, sharing what's going on in your life in your day. And not because you're guilty, but because you're rebuilding safety and you're allowing them to be a part of what you've been keeping them out of. Because oftentimes we've been keeping our partners out of the conversation, out of what's in our heart, out of what we're secretly feeling. And so, because we've kept them out, this allows them to be invited in because it's no different than you getting a trainer. Why did you get a trainer? Because if you don't have a trainer, you're not going to go to that gym when you're supposed to, or you're going to go and you're going to waste time. You're not going to have a plan. So, you're going to just plan to waste time because that's what happens with people who don't have plans. They plan to waste time. So, you're going to waste time and you're gonna go once or you're not gonna go anymore, or you're gonna go every other time. And there's no community there, there's no connection there. So there's no accountability. And where there is a lack of accountability, there is no growth. Even Michael Jordan needed a coach. Even Kobe Bryant needed a coach. Why? Because coaches bring accountability. It's not that they didn't have good talent or skills or disciplines, is there is an accountability. And there's something about being accountable that silences all of the lies that we tell ourselves, that the enemy tries to make us believe. And so, whenever you have that accountability, it's no different like God. You can count on him, right? When we can account, think about it. If you're doing your budget, is that not accounting for? If you're doing your taxes, is that not accounting for? So you're accounting for all the time. You just don't think about it that way. But when you account for things, now you have a way to see what's anchored and to see what's really happening. And we're not going off of these, made up emotional roller coasters and saying words like you always, you never, which is so far fetched, right? Because we just have so much anxiety and we're so frustrated by the moment that we're like, you never do this, you never do that, which that is not true. If they never did, then why are you here? Hello. So they must have did something at some point. They couldn't have always been terrible trash. At some point, they had to have been good, even if it was one day when you first met 5 years ago. So when we think about accounting, I love it. I even recommend to my clients, I have them share calendars because oftentimes the reason we have so much anxiety and worry and concern is because there's not full transparency. So when you share calendars and things are on the calendar, now we're not walking around like Babyface singing, "When will I see you again? When will my heart beat again?" Like I just want to know when, because that's what people want to know, especially women. We just want to know when, right? We don't like for you to just pop up stuff on us. So when it's on the calendar, there's full transparency. You know what I'm doing, I know what you're doing. And also for my men who are like, let me tell you one thing. When it's on that calendar, now we have a tracker because if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. So when we're doing X, how are we managing it? Because what happens when people say things like, I see you spending time with this person and are you doing these other things, but you're not spending time with me. I can go right to my calendar. Google Analytics. Google is free. Okay. That Google Calendar costs you 0.99. And on there, it tracks your time, what's on that calendar, what you're doing, what you're not doing. So then I can go right to the calendar and say, no, because we did this. No, we're averaging about 8 hours a week on said task. So no, we're spending time. We're not going to do this whole, oh, you don't spend time. Because, see, when people start throwing that stuff out there, it's because there is a moment in time that they are feeling neglected. And because that moment is very real to them, because people's perception is their reality, there's no tracker, right? So because that is what they're using to track these feelings, and your feelings are not facts, and they can be very fatal if you focus on them. Now you're moving out of feelings. Oh, you will never spend time with me. No, let me go back to the calendar. That's why I love that calendar. That calendar that keeps us in the open, it keeps us in the light, and it keeps us very honest. So then when people say this, now you got to come back and be vulnerable. Baby, I'm just overreacting. Because see, that's the truth. You really was just overreacting, right? But instead of saying, I'm overreacting, we like to accuse the other person. Again, that's not building trust, it's breaking it. It's not building it, it's breaking it. And that puts a person back into step one of defensiveness, right? So come with your facts and be honest about where you are. And so that's another cheat code that I give my clients all the time is have a calendar that you share and put everything on the calendar, and don't get out here as acting like, oh, that's just too much. Well, first and foremost, the reason you struggle with time management is because you don't account for your time. Let me gather you quickly. That is why we have a problem in your relationship right now. For those of you that are listening who struggle with time management, the reason you struggle with time management is because you don't have it on the calendar. You don't know what time, you don't know when. You telling people you're gonna be there in 10 minutes. And if you put the address in, they actually live 18 minutes away. That is not 10 minutes. You will not be there in 10 minutes. So when you have a proper plan that has measurements, now you can make it last forever. But when we're talking about rebuilding trust, you got to remember rebuilding trust means that at some point there was a lie there or there was a disconnect. So, in order to rebuild it, you have to rebuild it with truth. Well, what does measuring do? It rebuilds it with truth because that calendar, not gonna lie, I love a good Google Calendar invite because I see when you accepted it, the notifications was on your calendar invite, the instructions were on your calendar invite. So I don't want to hear you didn't know. It's giving absolutely not. I don't want to hear we don't spend time, ma'am, because no, that man spent time with you. Y'all did this, and this over the last 3 weeks. The reason you don't remember is because you're mad today. But you being mad today doesn't mean yesterday meant nothing. So I don't know who this is for because this was not in my notes. So this is clearly for somebody who listened to this podcast. So y'all let me know in the chat if this is helping you, or in the comments. Let me know if this is helping you because it is definitely for somebody. But this is a real thing, and we take these things for granted. But I mean, you have a calendar at work. You know what time to show up there. So then, if you know if you know what time to show up there, then why are you acting like you can't do it at home? That doesn't make sense. That's not that math isn't mathing to me. Because if you didn't know what time to get to work, would you get there? I mean, what would that look like? I mean, what would that look like? So you have to have time. And so if that's a thing for you, I'm telling you that is one of the most beautiful things. One of the things that men love about sharing calendars with their partners, my clients in particular, is because now their partner knows and that person can now be mindful of them. Because women, we do 99 tasks at one time. That is not normal. And it's actually not productive either. Um, and we will bark out orders to these men. Do this, do this. We'll bark out orders to them kids. Go in the kitchen, and while you over there, put this house wash and then put them in the trash. Three different things. Their mind cannot focus on that. And so, what men love about sharing the calendar is now you're being able to be mindful. So before you delegate to me a task, like pick this up when you get home, well, now you see that no, on the calendar, I had this on the calendar, so I can't do that when I get home. Versus, oh, I didn't even know you had all that. Oh, so when you doing that? Oh, so when you was gonna tell me. See, when it's on the calendar, you get the email, sir, when she accepted it, and ma'am, you get it when he accepted it. So then that way it's oh wait, let me go back to them. No, you accepted it Wednesday at 5:35 p.m. You just forgot. Is your notifications on your phone? Because see that's accountability. Accountability. When you get to accounting, you do that because I'm a math girl. I'm a numbers girl. I love it. If the math ain't mathing, I can't get past it. Oh, I have to understand because it's not mathing. So, but when the math is mathing, ain't nothing to say. Because a pair of lips will tell you anything. Numbers won't. Two plus two gonna always be four. Two times two gonna always be four. One plus three gonna always be four. Them numbers don't lie. That's why they're so important to accountability. They're important to rebuilding trust. They're important to full transparency. They heal. They really heal more than what we really realize. And interesting enough, time is a non-refundable investment. You can't get that time back. So where you spend your time is where your treasures lie. So if your treasures lie with your partner, you can look at the calendar, you can map out and see, okay, how many hours am I spending with the person? And the reason that's so important, especially for my high achievers, my overworkers, overextended, we are addicted to work. Work is our favorite drug. Work is our favorite thing. So we can get so into the work and into the weeds of the work that we don't see anything else happening outside of us. That's why that calendar is so important because it helps us to become better. But you won't know that you're losing weight if you hadn't been getting on the scale. Hello. So put some measurements in there. And then because you're rebuilding safety, give yourself grace. There's not going to be a time that you always get it right, but there should be times that you're getting it right more often than you're getting it wrong. And if you're finding yourself getting things wrong, that you need to assess, is what we've agreed to really sustainable? And I don't think we think about sustainability enough because we'll say things like, well, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make sure I call you every day at 5 o'clock. But you know that you have a meeting with your team or with your boss or wherever at 5:15, and you know your partner is not going to be able to get out everything they want to get out in 15 minutes. You just know it. So why would you tell them you're going to be able to do this and call them and hold the phone when you know that as soon as you tell them, all right, I got 15 minutes, they already feel rushed. So now they feel like, oh, you just pencil me in, you live 15 minutes. They like, I'm telling you, people will take that so many different ways. So it's best to understand who you're serving. Who is this with? If you know this person is a long winded person, they really need a good 30 to 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, then you plan that time, carve out that time and put it on the calendar. So that way, calendars create commitments. I'm on this time thing really hard, and it is so not in my notes. I know this is for somebody who is listening to this episode because it is so critical. And when we put the time in, now we're committed. Now we're connected. Do you see that? Calendar, commitment, connected. See that? That's how it works. Thank me later. Okay. Thank me later and pay me later. How about that? Because I just saved some of y'all a divorce. I know I done saved y'all at least $15,000 just off of that right there. So I just want to remind you, man, trust ultimately it reflects your faithfulness. And faithfulness is fruit. And you can't fake it. You have to cultivate it. And when you let God deal with your pride, your selfishness, your partner's the feel of the differences, then you can now really begin to um, reconnect. But sometimes we're trying to do a God thing in a human body. And I shared last week, go back and listen, that anytime we are trying to do a God thing in a human body using human effort, you will always feel guilt because it's heavy. What God carries is too heavy for you. We know you can lift 300 pounds, and that's beautiful. But trust me, you can't lift what God lift. You can't lift that trauma up off that woman. You can't lift that trauma up off that man. You can't lift that trauma off them kids. You can't lift that trauma off them coworkers. You know why? Because you didn't even place it there. How can you heal what you didn't break? You can't heal what you didn't break, but you can own what you've done to bring to it. You can't heal what you didn't break, but you can own what you've brought to it. So, as any great coach does, before we close, I'm going to give you something that I want you to really sit with. And I want you to think about this. Where in your relationship have your words said one thing, but your patterns said another? Where in your relationship have your words said one thing, your mouth say one thing? That's what my mama says. Your mouth say one thing, but your actions say another. So where is it that you're saying one things, but the patterns are saying a completely different story? And I don't want you to shame yourself. I want you to be aware of it. Be able to identify where is it showing up. Because when you're honest with you, then you can begin to heal that area with God first and experience that healing walking it out with your partner. And so I want you to really sit with that. And I want you to be honest because trust doesn't rebuild with promises. Because, see, when you start giving people promises that you can't live up to, you're going to keep yourself in a cycle and a lot of pain and a lot of bad patterns. And again, is it more important to you to be married to those patterns or married to your partner? Because it's expensive. But and don't forget about consistency. It rebuilds with consistency. So this week, instead of you asking your partner, do you trust me? I want you to, or even asking yourself, do they trust me? Either one. I want you to ask yourself, am I showing up in a way that makes trust easy? And then I want you to ask the other person, whether it's work, whether it's your husband, your wife, a friend, mentor, whomever. Make sure that you ask somebody who gonna tell you the truth. Let me tell you. Don't actually. Matter of fact, ask your kids. They really gonna tell you the truth. Okay. As long as you make them feel safe, let them know that they ain't gonna be punished afterwards. But and I say this because the way that you experience life is not always the way people are experiencing you. So you may think you're presenting yourself in one way, and people are like, "Oh, that's really not the way we're seeing it." And you'll be very surprised by that feedback, and really doing this introspective work is what's going to help you identify: is this really working? Am I making it easier for people to trust me? And if not, what needs to change? What pattern do I need to break up with and let go? I thank you for your time, man. This was so good. If this conversation challenged you, I'm going to challenge you. Don't just listen to it, apply it. Apply it to your life. Nothing changes until you change it. And if this really, really helps you out, I want you to subscribe. Hit the button. Make sure you subscribe or follow wherever you are listening to this episode. And then share this with someone you love. They're going to thank you later. And one last thing before I close out, I have a special invitation that I want to invite all of my strong women who are strong but tired because you carry too much. I have a masterclass that is going to help you finally release the weight of what you've been carrying. So if you know you tired, you already complaining, you ready to be done, you over it. Listen, you don't have to be over it. Just click the link below and sign up for the masterclass. I'll be teaching it. It's going to be a phenomenal time. If you were blessed just by the gems that I shared in this episode, imagine what it's like to be in a masterclass with me. I mean, it's amazing. And I'm not saying it because it's me. I mean, it just is. So the link is below. Click the link. I'm going to see you there. And until next time, don't forget to unmute what matters on purpose. See you next week.